Talk about a crusher. Yes! Oh!
Are you kidding me?
And gone!
Welcome back to the Schoolyard Sports podcast. On this podcast, Lane Frank, we're now on episode 240. So 240 episodes through, and I got an action-packed episode planned for you. It's Championship Saturday in college football. We got great games across the whole weekend. We got some stuff going on in the NFL as we enter December, NBA entering our third month, and we've got the hot stove going on in the MLB entering free agency's biggest season so far. So let's get into this action-packed episode 240. Let's start off episode 240 how we always do with our headlines in the NBA. The Pistons and the Knicks are atop the East, and they're playing great basketball. Cade Cunningham is playing at an MVP level, and the Knicks, where some people might have thought been a big drop-off after losing Tom Thibodeau, Mike Brown has done a great job so far. Knicks sitting comfortably at that 2 seed. Now for the Western Conference, the Los Angeles Lakers are number 2 seed in the West. They did some great things without LeBron James. They're doing even better things with him. They could be the biggest threats to the Oklahoma City Thunder in the whole entire NBA, not just the Western Conference. But this Thunder's team is going to be hard to catch up to. They're 20-1. They have the best record I've seen since the 2016 Golden State Warriors. I think that team only had one loss going into Christmas Day. This Thunder team might just do the same exact thing. They're playing incredible basketball right now. And the scariest thing is the 6-win Los Angeles Clippers don't have their first-round pick because it belongs to the one and only Oklahoma City Thunder, no matter where it ends up in that lottery. So, interesting stuff there. People can be very worried if this Clippers team bottoms out. I think the NBA would have to rig that lottery to make sure they get the lowest possible pick for whatever record they have, because we don't want an AJ DeBansta or a Darren Peterson on, or even a Cameron Boozer on this Oklahoma City Thunder squad next season. Now, switch things over to the NFL. The Green Bay Packers got a great win on Thanksgiving. Jordan Love, that defense, that offense, all kind of gelled together to get a win over the Detroit Lions. Dallas Cowboys playing great football. Everybody thought Brian Schottenheimer was this one-and-done guy, and he kept on thinking that throughout some of the year. I think that win over the Chiefs on Thanksgiving Day, that puts you in Jerry Jones' good graces if you can keep him happy on Thanksgiving. So a great win for the Cowboys on Thanksgiving over the Kansas City Chiefs. Cincinnati Bengals got a great win in the night slate of Thanksgiving, taking down the Baltimore Ravens. Joe Burrow's first game back. There's a reason why I picked them to win the Super Bowl preseason, because they are that much better of a team with Joe Burrow. It's hard to play good defense when you can't play good offense. The Bengals played great offense and great defense on Thursday Night Football against Baltimore Ravens. Now, Chicago Bears took down the Philadelphia Eagles on that Black Friday game. Caleb Williams didn't really have to do too much, but you don't have to when you have 2 running backs, both run for 100 yards, something very rare to see in the NFL. DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai doing great things. Kyle Monangai, a great fantasy pickup a few weeks ago. He's probably rostered in a bad league right now. I could have told you Kyle Monangai would be great coming out of college because he was pretty good at Rutgers, in my opinion. Chicago Bears, number 1 seed in the NFC. Really impressive stuff from Ben Johnson in year 1. Now, San Francisco 49ers playing some good football right now. They're moving on. Brock Purdy finally setting into a groove. They got the win over Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns. Jacksonville Jaguars sitting at 8-4, taking down the 1-11 Tennessee Titans. Titans are abysmal. They're probably going to get the number 1 pick again, which is a good thing for Cam Ward. Boost up that offensive line. Make a big trade. Trade back to pick number 3, pick up Caden Proctor, and pick up 2 first-round picks. In the process, I think that's what you should do if you're the Tennessee Titans this offseason. Now, Houston Texans, they're sitting at 7-5 with a win over the Indianapolis Colts. Everybody loved the Colts 2 weeks ago. They're sitting at 8-4 right now. Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes. You don't win to the playoffs, 8 wins. You got to win a few more games to get there. They probably need about 3 more wins to lock up a playoff spot. So while we all thought they were sitting comfortable at 8-1, I think it's time to lock in a little bit more for Indianapolis Colts and Daniel Jones. Now, the Jets, everybody, they got to win on Sunday. Tyrod Taylor starting at quarterback. Justin Fields looked miserable. One thing I will say is that Aaron Glenn is doing a good job as head coach. Some people are going to disagree with me, but he's doing everything he can. This isn't a good roster. They don't have a good running game. They're banged up on the offensive line. They don't have a quarterback. I think Aaron Glenn is going to be just fine as a head coach. He brings that charisma. He brings that enthusiasm. That's what we want. I think that's what the New York Jets need going forward in their future. And that was a good win on Sunday over the Atlanta Falcons. Carolina Panthers are looking like a playoff squad, and that's exactly what you want from your third-year quarterback, Bryce Young. Now, Trevor Lawrence was able to do it in year 2 as the number 1 overall pick. Bryce Young looked like he can make it in year 3. Bryce Young and the Panthers took down Los Angeles Rams on Sunday, and Rico Dowdle has just been a great running back for them. Dave Canales proved to be a solid head coaching hire 2 years ago. Panthers over the Rams. Now, the Seattle Seahawks made me a very happy man on Sunday when their defense got me 28 fantasy points. Yes, 28. Max Brosmer was the starting quarterback for the Vikings against them, and everybody thought that he would do great things, great wonders as the Minnesota Kid. But instead, he had the worst pick 6 I've ever seen. Seattle Seahawks, Mike McDonald is cooking so far as Seattle Seahawks head coach, and they're having a great season. They're looking to get that number 1 seed in the NFC. We'll see if they can get it, catch up to the Bears, catch up to the Rams, a few other teams gun it for that spot as well. Now, Chargers got a win over one of the worst teams in the NFL, Las Vegas Raiders. Pete Carroll just isn't figuring out what he's doing right now, and Jim Harbaugh gets a rivalry win over Raiders and Pete Carroll. He's been a longtime rival of Pete Carroll, dating back to the days of Stanford versus USC, of Seahawks versus 49ers. Jim Harbaugh and Pete Carroll, that rivalry still grows strong. But Justin Herbert got banged up in that game. Had to have surgery, actually, but it's still considered day-to-day. I don't know how that works. Trey Lance is their backup quarterback if needed. Broncos are sitting at 10-2. They're the number 1 seed in the AFC. Actually, scratch that. Patriots sitting at 11-2, the number 1 seed in the AFC. Both those teams closed out our week in the NFL on Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football with huge wins. Broncos, a closer one, come down to 1 point. And of course, the Patriots, a blowout win over the New York Giants on Monday Night Football. Now, in MLB, we already got some big free agency news. Dylan Cease, 7 years, $210 million to the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, I don't think that they care at all that this guy doesn't have a good ERA. They care that he can give you 30 starts every year, which is what he's done so far in his career. He never gets injured. Don't want to jinx him, but Dylan Cease gets a huge contract. Ryan Helsley, the Mets reliever this year and Cardinals reliever before that, goes over to the Baltimore Orioles. We'll see if they want to use him as a starter. There's some rumors about that, but huge flamethrower, Ryan Helsley, heading over to Baltimore. Devin Williams goes over to the New York Mets. Devin Williams was on that David Stearns Brewers squad, and he was great under that management of David Stearns. Fell off a little bit when he left to go to the Mets. Pete Alonso and Devin Williams probably have a little bit of a rivalry going because of the way that wild card series ended 2 years ago. Is this a sign about Pete Alonso coming back to the Mets? I sure hope not. But Devin Williams, New York Met. That's great news for the Mets right now. I think people are going to be mad at this. I don't think so. I mean, I wouldn't be as a Mets fan. I think Devin Williams is a good pitcher, good reliever. He's not going to be your closer. I think you can still bring back Edwin Diaz. I like the move by New York. Now, last thing in the headlines, the Red Sox pick up Sonny Gray. The first thing he does is chirp about being a Yankee in the past. It's exactly what you want. Sonny Gray to the Red Sox. That closes out what we've seen so far in the MLB on our hot stove and the headlines. Now, Schoolyard Sports NFL Game Day, where we run through the biggest games in the NFL of the week, and I give you my predictions. Cowboys versus the Lions. Let's go with the Cowboys in this one. I love this squad. I love this offense. Like this defense with Quentin Williams. He's that anchor right now. Let's go with the boys. Giving the Lions a second straight loss. Bengals versus the Bills. I told you, Joe Burrow and the Bengals are a different team than Joe Flacco and the Bengals. So let's go with the Bengals over the Bills with Joe Burrow back at quarterback. Titans versus the Browns. I think it's an interesting matchup because you do have Cam Ward versus Shedeur Sanders, two guys that you really were pinned against each other in that draft process. Obviously weren't picked next to each other because there was a big gap of where Shedeur got picked and where Cam Ward got picked at number 1 versus round 4 of Shedeur. But I do think the Browns get the win. I think they're a better roster. I think Shedeur Sanders is going to get the nod again, and I think they get the win. Browns over the Titans. Colts versus the Jaguars. Let's go with the Jaguars in this one. Colts are reeling right now. They have the same record as the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence is playing some good football. Jaguars send the Colts to 8-5 while they move on to 9-4 on the year. Steelers versus the Ravens. 2 6-6 squads really needing a win. I'm going to go with the Ravens and Lamar Jackson with the win. Lamar Jackson needs to get his mojo going and back quick, and I think they do. Steelers just not a great roster, in my opinion, compared to the Ravens roster, so let's go with the Ravens over the Steelers. Bears versus the Packers. This is a great matchup that people are talking about because this is the first matchup of the year between the Bears and the Packers. Not that it's just a great rivalry, but also because it's Ben Johnson, called out Matt LaFleur in his press conference, it's Jordan Love versus Caleb Williams, and they're both two of the top teams in the NFC to help out with that. But I'm going to go with the upset pick right here. I think the Bears, they get a little bit of time off, they get a little complacent, the running game falls apart a little bit in this one. Packers over the Bears. Texans versus the Chiefs. Let's go with the Sunday late game. I'm going to go with the Chiefs over the Texans. I think Patrick Mahomes just needs a win. He really does. They have a long break to think about it from Thanksgiving. They get the job done over CJ Stroud and the Texans. Now, the last game of the week. Chargers versus the Eagles. I'm going to go with the Eagles in this one. Justin Herbert, we don't know his status. If he does play, he's probably not practicing much this week anyway. So let's go with the Eagles over the Chargers to round out Schoolyard Sports NFL Game Day. Now, top 5. This week's top 5 is the top 5 free agents in the MLB because these guys haven't signed yet. And they have a cream of the crop if you're looking for a superstar this offseason. So let's hop into it. For 5, I'm going to go with the Japanese superstar, Munetaka Murakami. Now, he doesn't have great defense, but he's got that bat. He's got that maybe a little bit of speed, you could say. We saw what he could do in the WBC 3 years ago. I can only imagine he's better now. 5, Munetaka Murakami. For 4, Pete Alonso. Say what you want about Pete Alonso. Say he's a bad reliever. Say he's inconsistent. He really isn't. This guy hit so many home runs. He was one of the fastest players to reach 100 home runs. He hit 56 home runs in 2019. He had his best season of his career last season, in my opinion. And he's playing great baseball. That's really the matter of fact. He's not that old. He's maybe 31, maybe a little bit younger, maybe older than that, but nothing more than 33 at this point for Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso, we're 4 on my list of free agents. We're 3, Edwin Diaz. Edwin Diaz is going to close games out for you, plain and simple. Edwin Diaz's value shot up so much when he broke his leg, or whatever it was, in that WBC. It couldn't pitch for the Mets in 2023 because that Mets team struggled so much without him. They were such a bad team that year because they blew so many games in the 8th and 9th inning. You could have had your guy who you put in the 9th inning, in the 8th inning, if Edwin Diaz was there, and things wouldn't have fallen apart as much. It showed because the next 2 years, the Mets were such a better team with Edwin Diaz. He can close out games for you. He is so reliable. He is so clutch. He's going to give up 1 run a month at this point, seems like. Edwin Diaz, we're 3 on my list. We're 2, Kyle Schwarber. Kyle Schwarber is the best bat left in free agency, but he doesn't provide as much defense as number 1 on this list, and number 1's a bit younger. But Kyle Schwarber will get you walks, will get you a great OPS. He finished 2nd at MVP voting this year. It's a home run hitter. It's a home run pick. 2, Kyle Schwarber. Number 1, another Kyle in the outfield, a quicker one and a younger one, Kyle Tucker. He's going to get $300 million plus this offseason. I'm excited to see where he lands, maybe even in New York. But Kyle Tucker is the number 1 free agent this offseason. And that's about it for top 5 this week. Now, did you know? This week's Did You Know is in honor of National Signing Day being tomorrow, where we get to see where the top recruits land in December. I'm going to remind you that up until about a few years ago, the only National Signing Day period that existed was in February. So you're thinking, how would these guys enroll early and go through bullet practice and all these things if the only National Signing Day period was in February? The guys would still graduate in December and leave early, and they would still be enrolled at the school, just not officially signed to the school until February. So if they want to, I guess they could back out of it. But did you know the National Signing Day, which is so crucial now in December, so you want to hire a coach so early now, where some teams are struggling with it, like Penn State, who doesn't have a head coach on National Signing Day this year because they don't have one yet. If it was in February still, they wouldn't have that problem. Did you know the only National Signing Day used to be in February? That's about for Did You Know this week. So I don't know if you guys watch a lot of baseball or watch a lot of minor league sports, but when you see a guy in AAA do great things, hits 30 home runs a year in AAA, and then he gets that late call-up when he's 30 years old to go to the MLB, and he really can't do anything. He can't rake. And you're so surprised, but it's like, why are you so surprised? Yes, the guy was able to beat up on AAA competition and hit 30 home runs a year in AAA, but he can't do anything in the MLB. Yes, the guy could drop 50 points in his career in the G League and can't do anything in the NBA. Why are you so surprised? It's a step down from the big leagues. Same thing should apply to college football, shouldn't it? We have college football minor leagues. I call it the mid-majors. I call it the group of 5. The Power 5 is the big boys. And I think we can all collectively agree that the SEC is the best Power 5 conference or Power 4 conference in college football. Week in, week out, you have to show up and you have to be a contender. There's so many teams in this top 15 that are from the SEC. Now, a lot of guys were on the hot seat this year in the SEC. A lot of guys got fired. We got a lot of new coaches in there. We had John Summerall from Tulane go to Florida. We had Alex Golesh from USF go to Auburn. We had Ryan Silverfield from Memphis, also in the American Conference, go to Arkansas. What about Eric Morris from North Texas, go to Oklahoma State? Bob Chesney from James Madison, going to UCLA. All head coaches jumping from mid-major to head coach of a big-time program right away because they think these big-time programs, that's the best move to do, hiring a guy who could do great things at one spot, he'll do it in the next spot too. Let me tell you no on that. Here's a stat for you. Of the top 15 teams in the country, only one of those teams has a head coach that went mid-major to Power 5. Only one. It's Kurt Cignetti, Indiana. When you look at Ohio State, Ryan Day was their offense coordinator before that. Indiana, Kurt Cignetti, James Madison, Indiana. Georgia, Kirby Smart. He was the defense coordinator at Alabama. Oregon, Dan Lanning. He was the defense coordinator at Georgia. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin. He's had so many stops before he became the head coach at Ole Miss. But definitely mid-major to Power 5 was not one of them. Mike Elko. He was the Texas A&M defense coordinator. He got a big-time job at Duke, then a big-time job at Texas A&M. Brent Venables, number 18 in the country, Oklahoma. He went from Clemson defense coordinator to the Oklahoma Sooners. Marcus Freeman, Notre Dame defense coordinator, Notre Dame head coach. BYU, Kalani Sitake, defense coordinator, BYU head coach. Miami, Mario Cristobal, defense coordinator, big-time schools. Now he's a head coach at Miami. Let's look at Vanderbilt. Clark Lee, Notre Dame defense coordinator, Vanderbilt head coach. Steve Sarkisian worked his way up, Alabama offense coordinator after a few big jobs before that, Texas head coach. What I'm trying to tell you is it does not work to hire a head coach from the mid-major to go all the way over to the Power 5. Of those top 15 teams in the country, the only one I said was Indiana. And sure, it's great if John Summerall is the next Kurt Cignetti, if Alex Golesh is the next Kurt Cignetti, if Bob Chesney can do the same thing as Kurt Cignetti. It's not going to happen for all these guys. It can happen for maybe one of them, but it's never worked on a big-time scale before. Of all the national champions in college football history, the only coach to ever make a move from mid-major to Power 5 and win a national championship at that school was Urban Meyer at Florida. He went from Utah to Florida, and Utah was a group of 5 at the time. Obviously, they're Power 5 now. That was a big-time job still at the time. Only other guy to do it, I think, was Lavelle Edwards back in, 1987, something even sooner than that with BYU. It doesn't work. Since 2000, Urban Meyer, all-time, just he and Lavelle Edwards. Top 15 teams in the country, only one guy mid-major. So it's so great to hire these guys from the American Conference. None of those guys have won that conference yet, by the way. So great to hire all these guys and see if they can win you a championship. But for Auburn, why do you want to hire that guy like Alex Golesh? Not hating on him, but Alex Golesh went from Tennessee offense coordinator to USF head coach, which is great. Why don't you want to go dip at what maybe Tosh LaPoy is doing at Oregon? Well, Will Stein is doing at Oregon. That's what Kentucky just stole. Will Stein from Oregon. Why not pick up a Brian Hartline? That's a Dan Lanning type move. Dan Lanning to Oregon was a shocker at the time. Well, has he done great things there? Yes, he has. That's my point. Kenny Dillingham, offense coordinator at Oregon, Arizona State head coach. He's doing great things now. The move is to hire a coordinator to a head coach, not a head coach to a head coach. That's all I'm saying. Mid-major to Power 5 does not work in today's college football. That's my scream. Now, college hoops madness. We had a great feast week in college basketball where some people want to say the Players Era tournament has killed tournaments like Maui Invitational and Atlantis Invitational, which yes, it has, but Players Era was such a great tournament. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about at all, Players Era is the tournament where best winners of the tournament get NIL money for their team. So of course they want to take it. They get millions in NIL to play in it. They get $1 million if they win it. Michigan was the winner this year. Of course, I'm a Michigan fan. I may be biased about it, but that's a great win. That keeps players for you. I mean, it really does. You're probably not going to use that money to go after new players. That's kind of messed up to the guys on your roster. But if you do want to keep a great player in your roster, that $1 million could go a long way. So why go play in Maui and spend all that money to fly to Hawaii? Why fly to the Bahamas when you can just go to Vegas, pick up a quick check, make a lot of money? Because a lot of teams wanted to get into Players There at the tournament this year that there were too many. 18 teams. And it was so confusing on how there was going to be a winner. It ended up being Michigan versus Gonzaga in the championship game, where it seemed like Iowa State had a great run and was undefeated. Tennessee was undefeated, and they didn't get to be in that Players Area game to make money. But Michigan did, and Michigan won by 40 points in that championship game. They won by 30 in the game before, and they won by 40 in the game before that. Michigan basketball was on fire last week. They should be the number 1 team in the country. I think you should get over on how Maui's destroyed and how Atlantis is destroyed. Now, if you really want to make it interesting, why don't Maui and Atlantis just go find a bank or somebody to fund them to make the same exact thing? That's what I'd love to see. If we had 3 NIL money tournaments to still watch. If Maui was an NIL tournament, if Vegas was still an NIL tournament, Players Era, and if Atlantis had some NIL money involved. That's what I'd love to see. A Players Era in 3 different cities. That's what you want in college basketball. It'd be great to see because Players Era wiped the competition this year with those Feast Week tournaments. So that's my idea right there. We also got a great week in college basketball. We have the ACC SEC Challenge. I just watched Duke win 67-66 over Florida. Just incredible game. Isaiah Evans with a game-winning 3 late in that game. Big stuff right there. ACC SEC Challenge. And one last thing I want to go over in college basketball. The new challenge rule is awful. I'm going to say it. It is awful. You want to complain about Duke versus Houston last year? Go for it. But this challenge rule is awful. I was watching that Seton Hall USC Maui semifinal game, and Seton Hall clearly should have got the ball at the end of the game. The ball clearly went off USC's Terrence Williams, but they didn't have a challenge, so they couldn't go for it. Now, back in the day, that was easily reviewable, and you could just fix it. The challenge, in my opinion, shouldn't be a thing under 2 minutes. Shouldn't be in the NBA. It shouldn't be in any other sport. It isn't in the NFL because in the NFL, they are almost required to booth review those things. So you don't have to feel the pressure of if you don't have your challenge, then you can't review a play that probably could cost you the game. NFL does that perfectly. College basketball should do the same. This foul rule should be great with 11 minutes left in the game, with 5 minutes left in the game, 3 minutes left in the game, not with under 2, in my opinion. And that's about for college basketball madness. Coming down to the wire in college football, it's time to give you our top 25 in college ball showcase. My hot takes for the week were great. Saturday, we've got Championship Saturday coming up on us for huge playoff implications. Here's the top 25. 25, Navy. 24, Georgia Tech. 23, Tennessee. 22, Arizona. 21, Tulane. 20, James Madison. 19, Michigan. 18, USC. 17, Utah. 16, Pitt. 15, Virginia. 14, Texas. 13, BYU. 12, Vanderbilt. 11, Notre Dame. 10, Miami. 9, Alabama. 8, Oklahoma. 7, Texas A&M. 6, Texas Tech. 5, Oregon. 4, Ole Miss. 3, Georgia. 2, Indiana. And 1, Ohio State. That's top 25. Ohio State, clear number 1 team in the country. Indiana is going to be a great showdown for them this week. Georgia versus Alabama. I don't think Alabama deserves to get punished if they lose that game. They already have a win over Georgia, a road game. I think this is on even playing field, neutral site, but still in Georgia. So I don't think Alabama deserves to be punished at all if they do end up losing this game. They should still make the playoff, no matter what, in my opinion. Now, Vanderbilt, number 12 in the country for me. They're not going to make the playoff, but they were 10-2, and they had a great year. BYU sitting at number 13. They can shoot up in the rankings a ton and make that playoff if they do beat Texas Tech and cause a bubble bid sealer right there, because Texas Tech would probably still end up making that playoff at 11-2. Texas is really hoping for BYU to not win that game. Same with Miami, same with Notre Dame, as it would knock both of them out as well. Got a great storyline. Number 20, James Madison. They can get into this playoff very easily. They just need Duke to win that game over Virginia. Or you think, will Duke at 7-5 and 8-5 ACC championship winner get into the playoff over 12-1 James Madison? We'll have to wait and see on that one. That would be a very interesting saga and something that could change college football forever. So let's get into hot takes and see what I think on that matter. Now, college football showcase, the hot takes, everybody. Let's hop into it. First one, Troy versus James Madison. All James Madison needs to do is just win this game and they get into the college ball playoff, but I don't think they do. I think Troy gets the upset. We saw Troy go into Death Valley this year and Clemson go up 16-0. We saw James Madison have a great year with Alonzo Burnett at quarterback and Bob Chesney as the head coach. But Bob Chesney, he flew out to LA this week. He spent time at UCLA doing great things over there. He's going to have to come back all the way to Virginia, coach this game. I think there's some turmoil with that. I think his players are going to be upset. I think James Madison loses this game to Troy and ends their season on a sour note. Now, Friday game, North Texas versus Tulane. Winner gets into the college ball playoff. 2 departed coaches coaching in this game. John Summerall, decked out in Florida gear on Monday, back in Tulane gear on Tuesday. Eric Morris, decked out in Oklahoma State gear on Monday, decked out in North Texas gear on Tuesday. That's how it works with these departed coaches. I think Drew Mestemaker is a great quarterback, but I think Jake Retzlaff manages the game better for Tulane, and they get into the college ball playoff. BYU versus Texas Tech, Big 12 championship game. Kalani Sitake, great statement this week, staying at BYU. It's the place for him. I love that move. It's where he should be. Penn State was not the right move for him, and he's a lifer at BYU. But just because you're a lifer at BYU doesn't mean you're going to win this game. Let's go to Texas Tech over BYU. Joey McGuire's squad is just too good, in my opinion. They dominate the Cougars once again, this time in Jarrett World. Next one, Duke versus Virginia. Virginia, all they have to do, they made the college football playoff. Duke, they can be an 8-5 college football playoff team because that's college football nowadays. Or if they win this game, maybe you throw in a Mountain West winner or, James Madison if they do end up winning that game. I don't have them winning it. I think Duke beats Virginia, and I actually do think the committee will put the Blue Devils in there. So let's go Duke over Virginia. Georgia versus Alabama. We saw Alabama win this game earlier on in the year. But I think Georgia playing great football right now. A guy who I thought played a really bad game against Alabama a few weeks ago in September was Ellis Robinson IV. Now, Ellis Robinson IV was the number 2 player in the country last year behind Jeremiah Smith. He had a great game last week against Georgia Tech. He played great football. I think he's going to be a game changer right here. I really do. I don't think Alabama can run the ball that great. I think in a dome, Georgia's going to play really good football. Let's go Georgia over Alabama. Now, we get the last game of the week. Indiana versus Ohio State. Sadly, the stakes aren't too high. I think the worst thing that can come out of this game is you host a playoff game in 2 weeks, which really isn't that bad an outcome in my opinion. But I do think the winner of this game will be the Ohio State Buckeyes. Julian Sain is a great quarterback. He did everything right on Saturday. Jeremiah Smith and Cardinal Tate actually had a tough time getting separation outside of 2 plays there, 2 touchdowns. They were a bit silent on the afternoon against Michigan. I think they'll have a better night game against Indiana, and they get the win. Ohio State over Indiana, I don't really see it being particularly close. I think Ohio State owns the trenches. They control time of possession. Buckeyes over Indiana. And that's about it for College Football Showcase. Now, the best for last question of the day. This week's question of the day is, what will be the Oklahoma City Thunder's record at the end of the year? They're 20-1 right now. They're on a great run. What will their record be at the end of the year? Can they match that 73-9 best record in NBA history? Leave your answer in the comments. That's about it for question day this week. That's about it for Schoolyard Sports with Lane Frank, episode 240. Thank you for tuning in. Follow Schoolyard Sports on Instagram at Schoolyard Sports. Follow Schoolyard Sports on X at Schoolyard Sport. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review for the best sports content in the world. Be back here next week, episode 241. Stay tuned.